Under-blanching your vegetables can be worse than not blanching them at all. University extension guides warn about it. Most freezing tutorials barely mention it. You blanched, you timed it, you cooled it down. Then you packed the harvest on a hot August afternoon and stacked the bags neatly in the freezer, feeling like you finally cracked the code. January rolls around. You pull out the first bag, let it thaw, and watch the vegetables soften into gray, watery mush. You followed the instructions. It still went wrong. It is not your green thumb. 5 common freezing mistakes can quietly ruin a bag over the next several months, and the answers are buried in extension pages most people never read. I will show you all 5, but pay close attention to the step between the ice bath and the freezer bag. Skip one simple move there, and a harvest that looked perfect in August can come out as one solid brick in January. Mistake number 1. Under-blanching. Worse than not blanching at all. Here is the one most people mess up first. You look at the timer, pull the beans a little early, figure a shorter dip in boiling water is gentler on the vegetable. That is the mistake. Under-blanching does not slow enzymes down. It wakes them up. The extension guides that cover this say it plainly. Under-blanching stimulates the enzymes inside your vegetables and leaves you with a bag worse than one that was never blanched at all. Think of peroxidase like a slow-burning fuse. At room temperature, it smolders. A quick dip in hot water actually fans the flame instead of putting it out. Sustained boiling is the only thing that kills it for good. Pull too early, and you drop a lit fuse straight into a freezer bag. 6 months later, the fuse is still burning. Color goes first, then texture. By month 4, whatever flavor was left is gone too. That small timing error does not look serious in August. January is where it shows up. The most common way this happens is timing. You start the clock the second the beans hit the water, but your pot takes 30 to 45 seconds to come back to a full boil. That is 30 to 45 seconds of the wrong temperature counted as blanch time. The timer starts only after the water comes back to a rolling boil. That is the fix, and it costs 0 extra work. Use 1 gallon of water per 1 pound of vegetables. Keep the batch small so the water bounces back to a rolling boil within 1 minute. Start the timer then, not before. If you are steam blanching instead, your times run about 1.5 times longer, per the extension guides. I was reading a UNH extension fact sheet on freezing vegetables one evening in March and hit a sentence that stopped me cold. Under-blanching stimulates enzyme activity. It is worse than not blanching. Every gray bag I had opened in January over the years suddenly made a different kind of sense. It was not the freezer. It was 2 seconds. 2 seconds early is not a shortcut. It is the reason your bag went gray. Mistake number 2. Skipping the ice bath. The 5 minutes that undo everything. So you fix the timing. You wait for the full rolling boil, start the clock, and pull at the exact second. This is the step folks skip next because it feels optional. You drop the basket into a bowl of cold tap water and turn away. 2 minutes later, that water is 80 degrees. Your vegetables are still cooking, just slower. Your vegetable cell walls at 180 degrees are like paper walls in a rainstorm. Saturated, softened, ready to give. The ice bath is not a rinse for you to rush through. It is an emergency brake on cooking, and cold tap water is a suggestion your vegetable ignores. The pot is finished. The cooking is not. The extension folks are specific. Cool water needs to hit 60 degrees or below. Cool time needs to equal blanch time. 3-minute blanch, 3-minute ice bath. Set a second timer. The real move is roughly 1 pound of ice per pound of vegetables, prepped before the pot boils. Real ice cubes, not 2 floating in warm water. Drain hard when the timer ends. Wet vegetables freeze together into a solid mass, which becomes its own problem later. I treat the ice bath as part of the blanch, not as cleanup afterward. If your green beans come out limp and dark when you thaw them, this is where it happened. Not the freezer, not the bag. The 5 minutes between the pot and the bag. One workaround. Small batches under a cup can skip the bath if you spread them flat on a cold sheet pan. Shortcut, not standard. Same time as the blanch. Real ice, or the blanch did not count. Mistake number 3. Blanching what doesn't need it. 3 crops you can skip entirely. This next one is a habit you can drop entirely. 3 of the crops home gardeners blanch the hardest. Tomatoes, sweet peppers, and onions are the 3 the extension pages explicitly tell you to skip. The forums argue about how long to blanch a tomato. The University of Nebraska Extension is not arguing. Their page on freezing tomatoes says it plain. Tomatoes do not need to be blanched. Do not need. Missouri Extension says the same about sweet and bell peppers. Mature onions, same story per MU Extension. The reason is simple. Blanching is a fire extinguisher for enzymes. Green beans have a fire. Tomatoes barely have a spark. You would not empty an extinguisher on a lit match. But blanching a tomato is exactly that. You flood soft cell walls with hot water. They soak. They hold moisture they should not hold. The freezer locks the soft mess in for 6 months. More heat is not always more protection. What you do instead is simpler. For tomatoes, wash, dry, freeze whole on a parchment-lined sheet pan for 2 hours, then bag. Skins slip off under running water when they thaw. Bell peppers, slice raw, single layer, bag. Onions, chop, single layer, bag. Flavor gets stronger, that is normal. I would skip the pot every time on these 3. Doing less gives you better raw material for sauces later. One honest note. Frozen tomatoes and peppers come out soft when they thaw. They belong in soups, stews, sauces, chili, not fresh salads. That is the trade. The extension pages are boring, and they are right. Skip the pot on these 3. Mistake number 4. The bagging step. Why your bag freezes into a solid brick. The next mistake happens after the ice bath, and it is the one that turns loose vegetables into a January brick. It is the one I said 90% of gardeners are doing right now. Here is the mistake I want you to fix tonight, before anything else. Most home gardeners are doing this right now. It is the reason your freezer bag comes out as one solid brick when you crack it open in January. You take the vegetables out of the ice bath, drain them, and dump them straight into a Ziploc bag. Bag goes in the freezer. Everything freezes as one wet mass. And now you have a brick. The brick is not the actual problem. The problem is what happens inside it over the next 4 to 6 months. A frozen brick is not one solid thing. It is thousands of small vegetables cemented together by water bridges. Every temperature swing in your freezer, and there are 2 or 3 of those a day, melts those bridges just enough. Then they refreeze. Not as tiny needles this time, as sharp, jagged crystals that grow with every cycle. By month 4, the vegetables inside are punctured 1,000 times. That is your gray porridge on the counter. Do not let the pieces freeze as one wet mass. Here is the fix. Line a rimmed sheet pan with parchment paper. Spread the drained, patted dry vegetables in a single layer, pieces not touching if you can help it. Slide the pan into the freezer, uncovered, and set a 2-hour timer. That is flash freezing. After 2 hours, each piece is frozen on its own. Transfer them to freezer bags. Cup-size bags, not gallon size. 1 cup is 1 dinner for 2. Press the air out with a straw, seal, label with the date. The first summer I had a zucchini surge. I did not know any of this. Blanched perfectly. Dropped everything into gallon Ziplocs and stacked them in the freezer. Felt like a champion. December opened the first bag. Gray mush end to end. Whole bag ruined. Because you cannot refreeze half. Next summer I read about flash freezing on Frugal Organic Mama's site. Tried it. Opened a bag in February. And the pieces came out clean. One honest note. Flash freezing does not save vegetables that were under-blanched or that skipped the ice bath. This step fixes ice crystal damage, not enzyme damage. All 5 mistakes stack. 20 extra minutes of work tonight. 6 months of better texture. That is the trade. If you want the extension research behind why freezer bags fail months later, not surface-level tips, subscribe and turn on the bell. The next one will show up when it drops. Before the last mistake, here is the blanching chart I keep taped inside my cabinet door. It covers the crops I freeze most often, water blanch times from the university extensions, and marks the 3 you should skip entirely. Take a screenshot, print it, whatever works. The times are boring, and they are the difference between January mush and January dinners. One last thing. And it might be the most frustrating of the 5 because it happens after you have done every other step right. Mistake number 5, the freezer itself. The defrost cycle wrecking your harvest while you sleep. The last one is not about how you prep. It is where you put the bag. If you use the freezer built into the top of your fridge, the appliance is wrecking your harvest. Most frost-free models run a defrost cycle every 6 to 12 hours, depending on the appliance. A heating element warms up, melts the ice buildup, shuts off. Temperatures near the coils can climb toward the mid-40s in short bursts. Every one of those warm spikes runs recrystallization on your vegetables. 2 or 3 times a day for months. Your bag looks frozen. Inside, the damage keeps building. Think of the freezer as a room where the lights flick on every 8 hours. Each flick, the room warms slightly. Cells half-thaw and refreeze into bigger crystals. Hundreds of small warm-ups over 4 months while you sleep. So keep long-term bags away from the door and any visible air vents. Keep the freezer reasonably full, but leave the vents clear. You blanched perfectly. Ice bath. Timer, flash freeze, cup-size bags. 6 months later, your green beans come out with that watery weakness. Not your fault. The freezer was running a low-grade attack every 8 hours. 2 fixes. Free first. Push your bags to the back of the freezer, away from the coils and the door. Group frozen items into one dense block. A full freezer holds temperature better than an empty one. Paid fix if you have the budget. When I checked Walmart last week, a Frigidaire 5 cubic foot manual defrost model was listed around $178. Holds a full backyard season for a family of 4. An old gardener I know has been putting his harvest in the same chest freezer since 1978. Manual defrost. Sits in his garage. Every winter he opens August bags and the green beans still snap. He told me the appliance is the whole game. Do it right in a bad freezer, and you still lose. A steady freezer protects good prep. It cannot rescue bad prep. If you have zero budget and only a fridge-top freezer, the free fix may slow the damage. It will not make a frost-free unit behave like a manual defrost chest freezer. A freezer is not a storage locker. Its temperature keeps moving, and your food pays for it. 5 mistakes. None of them fatal on their own. Stack any 2 of them, and your January bag opens gray. A gray January bag usually starts with one rushed step in August. Then months of warming and cooling finish the damage. The goal is not perfect technique. It is stopping small mistakes from stacking on top of each other. Tonight, line a rimmed sheet pan with parchment and leave it beside the freezer. The next time you blanch vegetables, dry them well, spread them in one layer, and freeze them until firm before you bag them. Start with the next batch. The extension pages have been right the whole time. The garden gives you food for free in August. Your job is to not throw it in the trash in January.